Welcome to the Missouri Valley Football First Goal Podcast. I'm Kelly Burke, and joining me today is the new head football coach at Murray State, Jody Wright. Coach, how are you?
Oh, doing great. Just beautiful day here in Murray. Had a good workout, guys, this morning. So we're just really blessed and excited for a great fall.
Yeah, the season is fast approaching. You've been on campus now about 6 months or a little bit more than that. But, I want to go back to just, how you grew up. You grew up in a football family. Your dad was a legendary high school football coach. Your brothers are both in coaching at the high school level. When did you know that you wanted to be a coach?
Well, at a young age, my dad was my hero. And just seeing the impact he made on young men and positive impact he made, I knew I always wanted to do something to help young people and always loved being around people. And I actually thought about being in politics or something when I was in college, but probably wasn't smart enough to do that. So I had to get into football coaching. But I was playing at Jacksonville State and tore my ACL the second time. And, I say I got sent to pasture a little bit. You didn't have medical scholarships back then, so you just got sent to pasture. But started student coaching and really loved it, actually more than playing the enjoyment. So I kind of got a little early start and finished school and was fortunate enough to be around a lot of great coaches and was very fortunate to get started at a young age, like I said. But from the first day I started coaching, I had a passion and loved it.
I think you made the right decision of choosing football over politics, especially just
right.
given how much fighting is involved right now with politics on both sides.
I used to joke with my dad. He did politics, coaching. He was a Mississippi congressman, and I told him, I said, besides being a preacher, he did every other thing. He did education, coaching, and politics. So besides being a preacher, that's about the only other thing you could ask for abuse.
Yeah. Before you took this job, you had been an assistant for over 20 years. So why was the challenge of the Murray State job so appealing to you?
Well, I'd always, when I was a young student coach, we used to have to go to the airport to get film exchange back in the day, in like 2003 and 4. We just joined the conference. I remember getting a Murray State media guide and one of those late nights when you take a break from breaking down film and stay at the office all night. I used to look, I said, man, Frank Beamer used to be the head coach here. And Houston Nutt used to be the head coach here. And I got to work with Joe Panunzio. And I was like, man, Ron Zook and all these, coaches, famous coaches I really looked up to. And they'd come out of Murray State and the tradition there. And my first game here, we played, I was at Jacksonville State and we played Murray State and they beat us. And I thought that was the neatest thing when they used to run the racehorse around the track and everything. And just following it over the years, I always thought it was a really neat place, program. And talking to coaches that worked here, just what a great place it was to live and raise a family. And then, I was fortunate enough to have a lot of connections that I worked with Nico Yanko, our athletic director, Billy Napier, and a lot of coaches that were familiar with him. Just basically said, man, the athletic director there is a superstar. He's amazing. And, he played football at Murray and Josh Berger, one of our assistant ADs, I'd known him from UAB, and I was fortunate enough that they even considered talking to me for this job. And like I said, got to meet some of the men and their dedication and passion to take on the challenge of this great conference we're in, but also get, trying to take Murray State to try to get back to championship levels. And, I guess I said I was I don't know if they just felt sorry for me or I was, I said I would definitely love to take on the challenge. And fortunate enough, I've got, in my opinion, one of the best coaching staffs in the country, a lot of great men. So I'm excited. I told them I could put together a championship staff, and I was fortunate enough to do that. And we're excited to get to work and prove, hopefully we can get this thing turned around.
You mentioned your staff, and I mean, you brought in a couple coordinators that have extensive experience at the FCS level, not just experience, but have been really successful on both sides of the ball. How much of that was a priority when you were looking for coordinators, just having that FCS experience?
It was, Ryan Smith, our defensive coordinator, an outstanding job he'd done at FAMU. Had one of the top defenses in the country. Adam Ross, assistant head coach, co-offensive coordinator at Richmond, making playoff runs there. Jimmy Ogle, co-offensive coordinator at Jacksonville State. He'd been part of a lot of championship teams, actually coached me in college. Tyler Zielinski, who worked with us at South Carolina, very, very sharp, a young coach. And, I was knocking on wood. They told me they were all coming. I told, and they showed up here. But it's, like I said, some of them had to take pay cuts and different things to come here. But we've just got a great staff of men that work well together, and our players have been better than I could even imagine, buying into what we're trying to do.
What's the first thing that you sort of implemented to get back to the winning culture of the Murray State football program?
My dad used to always say, to win, you got to have winners, and they come in all different shapes and sizes. And first thing I try to do, I said, the first thing I can control is putting together a winning staff. And I believe I did that. The next thing I had to do was, I said, we didn't recruit any of these players, and they didn't sign up to play for Jody Wright, and they signed up to play football at Murray State. And I said, it's our job to pour into them, and we did, and kind of told them what we were going to be about and how we were going to do things. And a lot of them have bought in and done things, and some decided that they wanted to move on and enter the transfer portal. Mm-hmm. And we were fortunate enough, I believe, to bring in a lot of good players from other programs in the transfer portal. I tell people all the time, it's just the environment we're in, and you've got to embrace it and figure out your advantages you can use in it. And, our athletic department is, like I said, Nico and his leadership's given us a lot of resources to bring in young men on official visits, and where we can get to know them and make sure they're a good fit. I said, just because you play at a higher, maybe FBS football doesn't mean you're going to be a great fit here at Murray State. And I believe this conference, just look at how many players are drafted out of this conference, and the level of football playing here and being around the head coaches in this conference are amazing, and the staffs they have and the player development that they're doing in this conference. There's a reason the winning's been going on. There's a reason there's been players drafted, and usually the national championship and the number of teams that are in the playoff, there's a reason. It's a lot of good coaches and a lot of good players. And, and I felt like we had to, kind of go after some, bigger, faster, stronger players, which we were fortunate to get some of them. And now it's our job. We've got to develop them and give them to buy in and play winning football.
I had read that the motto of this first team that you have at Murray State is "Find a Way." What is the significance behind that?
My dad, he always just had a find a way attitude. He said, "There's no such thing as problems. There's only challenges." And he always said, "I love a good challenge," and that's always, it's kind of our motto has been, no matter what happens, we're going to find a way to get it done. We had a football camp this summer, and there was a break on campus, knocked power out all over campus, basically.
Wow.
About 6:30 in the morning. And so we had strength coaches out there in flashlights dragging weights out on the field. And then we did a camp with no electricity. It was crazy. And we were all laughing. We said, that's our motto, find a way, and we never missed a beat. And I think that's, you can either find an excuse or find a way. And I told our coaches all the time, I tell players, anybody can make an excuse. We got to find a way and make it happen. Whether, I said, whether it's in the classroom, you got to find a way, study harder, talk to your team, do whatever you got to do. You got to find a way to learn and pass your classes, just like you got to find a way to be a good football player. And a lot of times it starts with hard work, but you got to have an attitude that no matter what happens, a setback, and you just got to get back and be stronger. And, I think our guys have done a good job embracing that. And like I said, we don't have any problems. We got some challenges we've got to overcome, but we're going to find a way.
You've touched on your dad a little bit, and he obviously left an incredible legacy with his life. And, he's a legendary high school football coach in the state of Alabama, won 9 state titles. What are some of the biggest lessons that you've taken from him, not only as a coach, but as your dad, as a father?
Yeah. One thing, my dad, he was very, he had a battle ALS and get to see him every day. And Coach Beamer was so great when I was working at the University of South Carolina. When my dad first got diagnosed, and we were going through that, and and he never complained a day. When somebody tells you you're going to die and it's going to be very bad, and it's tough. And, just his attitude that, it was, he just said every day how blessed he was and tried to bless other people. And, and that's what we try to do here. I said, if we only teach these guys how to play football, we probably fail them as young men. And a lot of that, I think football teaches a lot of life lessons. That's one thing I love about football. And, you have to work together. There's going to be guys in the locker room that come from rich backgrounds, poor backgrounds, guys that are big guys, small guys, black, white, brown, every race you can think of. But football kind of just shows you if we're all working together as a common goal, we can get together and work together. And some guys are big personalities. Some guys don't talk, I think that's one good thing about football. It's a lot of life lessons. It's just gonna be hard days. And some days you got to pick somebody else up. And some days somebody's got to pick you up. And, but I think that's the great thing about our game that teaches so many things. I know today, even college athletics is getting to be a lot of some negativity with transfer portal and players. But, I tell people all the time, I think 90% of it, just like all our players, I have not had a negative experience with NIL or players coming in wanting NIL or trying to leave. They're just happy to come to Murray State and get a good education and believe in us coaching them. And it's been very refreshing and being around a lot of good young men and getting to know them and their stories. And it's been really great. And I think, it's I'm sure there's a reason, I tell people all the time, I hope they came here because they want to have a student athlete experience. Is the reason you should play college football. And, I said, it's football. I hope it's not just about money. And I think we got a lot of guys that really truly love the game and love the lessons it teaches you.
That's so refreshing to hear. When you have family get-togethers, if I were a fly on the wall, how much are you talking shop with your brother? Like, what are the conversations at family get-togethers? Does it automatically go to football, even if, everybody's like, we're not talking football?
My mother, sweetest woman in the world, she begged us all to be, she didn't want us, she kind of asked us, oh, y'all should be something besides coaches, but we all end up being football coaches. And, she was a teacher too, and it was probably the impact they made. But my brothers, we're usually laughing and talk, but a lot of it is about football. A lot of times telling old stories. And, I tell guys all the time the college football, the locker room and going through hard things. I hate to compare it to war because those young men are putting their lives on the line for our freedoms. But it's kind of like guys that have been in war together. Sometimes they can go 10 years and not see each other and they can reconnect like that. And that's how a lot of your teammates and stuff are. Me and my brothers, we can sit there and tell stories about from 1994 state championship game and call out plays and different players. And it's been really neat. I had a couple of my dad's players that I was a manager on a couple, I was probably third grade, fourth grade, that now their sons are coming to my football camp. And,
wow.
It's been surreal. I guess that tells you how old you're getting. But,
right.
But it's neat. And I tell them, I was like, man, I might offer you a scholarship if you can be half as tough as your dad.
Yeah.
But that's been neat. But, my brothers, I tell people all the time, I said, my uncle was a coach too, Lane Wright. But I tell people all the time, I said, I promise you I'm the fourth. I hope I can be the fourth best Wright coach because if I can be half as good as my dad and my two brothers, I'll be hopefully successful here at Murray. But, they're really good. And I have so much respect for what they do at the high school level and the impact they make. And, some days I feel like I'm having a tough day at the office and, they'll be driving a kid home or picking one up or dealing with a parent or something or telling me a story about one of their young men. And, I said, man, they have a little bit rougher than me and for not nearly the pay probably.
Yeah. So true. You were the director of player personnel at Alabama for 3 seasons under Nick Saban, bringing in the nation's top recruiting classes in that time. What did that experience teach you about what it means to be a good recruiter?
I think Coach Saban, that was one thing he was so excellent at, and one of the thousands, but he was so, every day thinking about the roster, whether, now it's transfer portal guy may be leaving. And back then it was, this guy's really good as a freshman, Mika Fitzpatrick. So he's probably be coming out for the draft year 3 when he's draft eligible. And knowing, well, the freshman we signed should be able to replace him. Or, you know what, we may have to go get a junior college player, this player. And I think just the details of looking at players and saying, well, this guy's a good player, but asking the hard question, why is he a good player? Or if he is not going to be successful at this level, what would be the reason? Is it a character issue, injury history? Does he have some stiffness, whatever, and trying to probably deep think a lot about players. And he was just very detailed and relentless with that. And like I said, I was fortunate enough. We had a lot of great guys on the staff, from Mario Cristobal to Billy Napier to Bobby Williams, Burke Burns, Lane Kiffin on the staff. And we had a lot of guys that went on to be Kirby Smart, of course, Jeremy Pruitt, Mel Tucker, a lot of guys you've got to work with that went on to be successful head coaches, and trying to soak up and learn everything I can. And that was one thing I think Coach Saban with recruiting, and it was, you had to do your job. And, every day if he asked me about a player or different reasons, you better be able to, the accountability. But that was with everybody in the organization of, do your job. Because, but I do think, I tell people all the time, I said, with football, we all look like we're better coaches when we have good players. Now, sometimes I'm sure I've messed up a lot of good players, and hopefully won't mess up any here, but it helps when you get good players, and hopefully, they're made of the right stuff, because no matter what you are, I think you're either getting better, growing, or descending every day. And, you hope you're giving them a culture and atmosphere setting that they can improve, the God-given talent they have. And then you kind of identify the weaknesses, and hopefully that you can correct some of them, whether through coaching or your strength program or nutrition program, different things like that.
What's the biggest way you've had to change how you recruit, in this now kind of NIL culture and climate?
Yeah, and I still think it goes back to old-fashioned relationships and relentless effort. And I think our players did a really good job of when we hosted guys of telling them all the positives of Murray State. And, and fortunately, I think they said some nice things about our staff and us and what we're trying to build here, even though we'd only been here a short time. But it goes back to, I tell our guys all the time, like, we may have to recruit 30 players to get 2, where maybe you used to could have 5 or 10, because, we're going to go after the best. And then sometimes they tell you no, or, hey, they're looking for NIL opportunities, and that's the reason they went in the portal, or they're only considering playing SEC or Big Ten. But I said, if we don't ask them and go after them, we won't know. But at the same time, I think it's just having an open dialogue and being honest and upfront and saying, hey, this is what we're about. What are you about? And can we find a connection that it's a good fit for both? Because I said, the worst thing we can ever do is tell you you're a good fit at Murray State and you're good enough to play here, and you show up and you're not good enough to play here because we evaluated you and we told you something at Murray State that it's not true. And I had to tell people in the recruit process, I said, hey, I'm still new here. I can't tell. I'll try to find out the answers and tell you, but I'm still getting to know. I said, now, everything I've seen so far, Murray's been great, the town and living, community, boost, everything. But I said, I'm just now getting here too. But it's, I think, just the open dialogue, and, that you can, have a one-way street, and they feel comfortable talking to you and upfront, because I said, if they show up and your relationship's built off a lie, it's not going to go very far. So I think that's one thing my staff's done a great job of. And we're going to try to do here, because I said, hey, I think the foundation of any relationship starts with being honest and caring about each other, but being truthful.
Yeah. This week it's been fun to watch Coach Saban on the SEC media day coverage in a different role, and we're seeing a little bit more of his personality. As someone who used to be around him daily, what are some of the little things, I guess the little known things, that make him arguably the greatest college football coach ever?
One thing I would say is, of course, attention to detail. I think he was always thinking about, like I said, you're either getting better or worse every day. And he was always, hey, if we need to go learn how to do RPOs, let's go study somebody. We need to learn how to get a new blitz for third down. Let's go study. I mean, he was always studying the best people And, of course, I think a lot of times he came up with a lot of the best ways on his own. But, and I think just always constantly trying to find ways to improve and make things better. And, I think he was a guy that every day he ever worked at the University of Alabama, they got their money tenfold out of him, the university, the community, everything. But he was so good. He does so many things behind the scenes. I think that, people, want to show him getting fired up on the sideline on a player coach. But, I've heard him have many conversations with, helping somebody that played for him 10 years ago get a job, or helping somebody's child that, you never hear about in the news. And his wife, Miss Terry, just salty the earth woman. And they do so much for the community there in Tuscaloosa and the impact they make. And, and just like he's helped me, when the New York Giants, when we were let go, I mean, he called me to check on me. And, it's like it was the middle of recruiting season and he's got a million things going on. But, to pick up the phone and call and check on you and, see kind of what's going on in your coaching career and, anything you do to help you means the world to you. And even when my father got sick, ALS, I'm going to the doctor and I don't even know who told him. And he's calling, telling me basically, you just call me, whatever I can do, resources to help you. And, you think, man, that's amazing, all the stuff he had going on to take the time to do that.
Yeah, that's amazing to hear. You spent 3 years coaching in the NFL. What ultimately brought you back to the college game for good? Well,
probably head coach, Coach Judge, I thought did a great job. But I understand, the NFL, it's a business, and I was fortunate enough, I think, to work for two good organizations, and the Browns and the New York Giants. But it's it's a results business, and there's so much money in the NFL. If the results aren't happening, they can kind of move on from coaches and different things. But it was a great learning experience. Met so many great people, and I did really miss some of the college game with the relationships, I believe. In the NFL, I would just about tear up when a player would get cut because you're coaching them and trying to help them, and then they have to come in and, hey, get your playbook, go see coach, and they're releasing them, and hopefully some guys had made a lot of money, but you always felt bad for guys that had not been in the NFL long or hadn't made much money, and they're fighting for a roster spot. But I think getting back in the college where the NFL, it's so many draft picks, so everybody's kind of on the even playing level. Everybody's got the same salary cap. Everybody's got the same number of draft picks. We're in college. I believe if you want to work hard and your philosophy and how you want to sell your program and how you want to do things, it's no different than running a company, trying to get new customers or people to buy your product. I think, hey, if you want to work hard and do certain things your way and attract whatever talent, do it your way. I think I kind of missed that part of it where you could kind of control, in my opinion, winning and losing a little bit more, which I enjoyed because, I felt like, just like I want to be a head coach, I felt like I could, surround myself with a lot of great coaches and the way we want to run a program and attract, good young men, I think, that are going to develop into winning people and winning football players. So, but I think that the biggest takeaway is probably being able to control more things.
Yeah, that makes sense. At your introductory press conference, you had said at the time you didn't know what offense or defense you were going to run yet, but now that you know your personnel, you've been able to go and recruit out of the portal and bring in some new guys as well. What will we see on both sides of the ball?
Well, hopefully something that's good, but, I tell people all the time, it's, I said, we're still trying to figure out who our start quarterback's going to be and different guys. But I do think as a coach, you need to know, like, once we line up fall camp, we're not getting any new players. So we've got to do kind of what our players do. And I do think you got to put them in different situations sometimes to figure out what they do well and what deficiencies they have. And hopefully you can hide the deficiencies. But, I do think just kind of big picture offensively, we do want to have some pro style schemes. I say pro style, I think everybody kind of doing similar stuff, but, we would like to be balanced running pass. We do like to play with tight ends, possibly. I do think we're still kind of figuring out right now whether we want to be more two tight end or two running back or
Yeah.
10 personnel receivers. So I wish I could say, because it's the tough part with us right now. We brought in so many players since spring. We're probably the first week or two of fall camp. We're going to have to figure out, some things where our personnel takes us on offense. Defensively, Coach Smith has done a good job. I think the one thing I'd say about our defense is we're pretty sound and multiple in things we can do. I think that's important with our linebackers and defensive line that guys, if you're rotating a lot, we're still trying to figure out. We got about a lot of new defensive line, not new linebackers, basically a whole new secondary. So I wish I could. I still probably can't answer those questions completely.
That's fine. I mean, and I don't need you to go in, obviously I'm not going to ask you specifics or anything because we don't need that information out there.
But it's been, I would say, the players were, they've done a great job this summer. Working the weight room. Coach Corey Sullivan and Josh Miller, our strength staff, done an amazing job with them. But fall camp, hopefully, we were just talking about it earlier today. Hopefully, in the first 2 weeks, we can kind of start getting our identity and know, hey, we could probably hang our hat on some of this stuff and what are, special. I still believe on offense, things have to run through the quarterback, unless you got a Herschel Walker or Bo Jackson back there running back. But the same thing with defense. I think, we got to be multiple. In today's all the offenses you see, especially in this conference. I mean, we got the North Dakota State, South Dakota State, and so many good teams in this conference that have got just tremendous offensive line that can lay heavy on you and pound you if you're not know how to take on blocks. And hopefully we can get us advantage with our quickness. But they do a really good job of so many coaches. That's what I was talking about, how good the coaches do in this conference with developing their players. And a lot of them got systems they really believe in, and they've executed them at a high level for a long time.
Yeah. Well, the good news is, especially, if you end up using multiple tight ends, you'll be right at home in the Valley, because South Dakota State and a number of teams do the same thing. So
yeah, they do.
A couple more questions for you. Murray State celebrates 100 years of football this season. What is something that the average fan doesn't realize about the history of this program?
I think with our 100-year football, we've got a group, the Racer Football Alumni Association, the RFA, and they do a great job. And I love getting on their Facebook page and hearing different stories about players and the history of it every day. And Dave Winder, one of our SIDs, and Clay, I was telling them during fall camp, I want our players to have nights where we're doing different segments, learning about all the great players and some great wins in this program and everything. But it is so many. Knowing that the mascot used to be the Thoroughbreds, I think it was really neat. And
wow, I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah, the Murray State Thoroughbreds, and so that that's been neat. And just the tradition, I think, of when we score a touchdown, that we run a racehorse around the track and it leads the team out. And, that's something I always thought that was neat. And it's been, I tell people all the time, I just think back. I said, Tony Romo played at East Illinois when Murray State was in the Ohio Valley Conference, and there's a picture when he was on the sideline and Murray State hit a 50-something yard field goal to win the conference. You can see him over there, like, oh man. There's been a lot of great wins here, and I think there's a lot of great coaches, a lot of great players. I mean. Quincy Williams, one of the best linebackers in the National Football League right now for the New York Jets, is a great player here. It's a lot of good players that come through Murray State, a lot of good coaches, and that's what I tell our players all the time. We always want to represent. You're wearing that number 44, or that number, 12 and 17, but there are a lot of players that's wore that before you, and you're going to wear it with pride. And especially the 100th year of football, we've got to go out there and show fans that we're trying to get back to, what they expect the winning of Murray State to be.
Yeah. You open the season Thursday night against Mizzou. You obviously are very familiar with the SEC. What is the biggest challenge between now and August 29th?
It's the biggest challenge. Coach Drinkwitz, Missouri, has done an excellent job. I think they're going to be one of the top teams in the country next year. and we have a chance to win the national championship, in my opinion. We played them both years. I was at South Carolina. We came up short both times, and but they do an amazing job there. And I was messing with our staff. I told them, guys, we were on Paul Feinbaum's show. I heard it live. They're talking about Murray State now. I tell them like Paul Feinbaum was laughing at us, making fun of Missouri's schedule, saying, "Oh, you got Murray State first game. That's a real, you know." But I said, at least we got mentioned, so that's a positive. But you know, I do think you know, it really helped us in recruiting and letting guys know, hey, you know, you want to try to play in the NFL, do things, you're going to get a chance to play on national TV and on a Thursday night to open the season. And you know, and just this conference, talking about getting to play in the best conference, FCS football, and against guys that are going to be NFL players, and the respect this conference gets, the style of football and the players in this conference is a big seller. But I'm so excited about the opening game Thursday night at Missouri. You know, as I tell our players, is a great challenge, and we're looking forward to it. And our guys working hard, and you know, I hope Coach Drinkwitz, if he needs to rest some players, it'll probably be a good game, and we'll go have fun. It'll be a great opportunity, and we'll come back the next week. Got a great home schedule this year. We've got North Dakota State coming here. That'll be really neat. It's funny, and you see a lot of the teams in this conference I've had so much respect for. You're like, man, I'm gonna get to go play those guys. So it's gonna be neat. But it'll definitely be a good SEC Thursday night atmosphere. Is nothing better than an SEC night game.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm looking forward to it. Coach, is there anything else that I haven't asked you that you would like people to know out there about yourself or Murray State or anything?
Well, you know, I think just like I say all the time, just blessed for this opportunity, me and my staff. And we're, you know, I can't say enough about our players, you know, how hard they're working. And I think the one thing I would say is, you know, I know it's going to be a great season. I tell our guys all the time, we're just 1% better, you know, every day. That's in control what we can control, and that's how hard we work, our attitude, how we show up to play, and how we compete, and how we represent ourselves on and off the field. And you know, so I just, you know, all the Murray State fans just keep supporting us, pouring into us, and you know, we're humble and grateful to be in such a good Missouri Valley football conference, and you know, we're looking forward to a lot of good challenges this season, and exciting year of football.
Yeah. Coach, thank you so much for taking the time with me today, and look forward to meeting you in person this season.
Thank you so much, Kelly, and look forward to it as well.
Okay. Take care and enjoy the rest of your month, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Bye. Thanks.
Go Racers.